Today I'm going to speak to you about BlockFi. BlockFi, using their incorporation date as my birth data, BlockFi is in a problematic dasha. It's in a dasha of Saturn and Venus is the Bhukti Lord, and the placement of those two planets is Venus is 8th from BlockFi's natal Saturn. And so Venus is 6th from their natal Saturn, and Saturn is 8th from their natal Venus. So even though those planets are very they work very nicely together, still when the planets are in that relationship in a dasha, it's still gonna cause problems. Now, that dasha bhukti period lasts until mid-March of 2023. Now, as many of you probably know, maybe, I guess if you're watching this, BlockFi filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on the 28th of November. On that date, Mars and Saturn were in exact trine. Mars is currently retrograding in the sign of Taurus, and Saturn is direct in the sign of Capricorn. And on that day, Moon was transiting with Saturn, so that activated that trine of Mars and Saturn. And that's the date that BlockFi filed for bankruptcy. On Tuesday, the 2nd of March of 2023, Mars is going to return direct, heading in direct motion to that exact area of the sky where Mars was when BlockFi filed for bankruptcy. At that moment, Mercury is exactly conjunct Saturn in the Scorpio pada of Dhanishta nakshatra, and Sun is also in sign with them in Aquarius. And actually, the chart of this event I'm taking for that exact moment of exact conjunction between Mercury and Saturn, because I see that as being the catalyst for what I'm going to talk about. And Venus and Jupiter are also exactly conjunct in the Sagittarius pada of Revati nakshatra. And apologies, actually, I think I said Tuesday. It's actually Thursday, the 2nd of March. So on Thursday, the 2nd of March, and possibly a little bit earlier that week, there's going to be a very important development in this situation of BlockFi. At this juncture, firstly, Ketu's position 5th from the moon. The moon is going to be in Gemini. Ketu's position 5th from the moon in Swati nakshatra and being lord of the 6th house shows me that BlockFi's clients' accounts are going to be given a very, they're going to be being looked at in a very precise fashion. So people who are like the retail investors who had money on BlockFi, all of those accounts are going to be being studied in some way, in a very close, precise way. That's one thing I see. Mars being 12th from the moon at that moment, that shows me that there's going to be a strong effort to recoup gains as Mars sets off, like recoup money on the part of BlockFi. As that Mars is going to be setting off Rahu, who is in the 11th house from the moon in the Cancer Pada of Ashwini Nakshatra. And then but because that Rahu is also going to be activating the sign of Aquarius where Mercury, Saturn, and the Sun are, I see that effort is going to entail, or the way that effort is going to show itself in reality is actually through some kind of legal proceeding, and it has a high likelihood of being a government-led proceeding or hearing. And that hearing is going to uncover some hidden information, some deep, hidden, extreme information. Now, what I see is that Jupiter and Venus being in the 10th house from the moon, and that combined with what I see in the Navamsha chart, and that combined with what I see of the new Dashabhukti sequence that starts in the middle of March for BlockFi, Saturn's Sun, what I see quite apparently is that this date is going to activate a change in leadership that I see as, it looks very much like an acquisition of BlockFi, and this acquisition is going to totally change the direction that company BlockFi will go in. So the company is going to continue, but in a very new way and with completely different leadership, which I see being indicative of an acquisition. So my intent of this video is not like to give anybody a false hope. I just wanted to tell you what I see. Actually, I myself had a small amount of crypto holdings on BlockFi US because, and it's so funny because I thought, the reason I did this was I thought it would make my tax filing for the US just way more hassle-free, since BlockFi has it's very integrated, and with your I don't know, your social, it just seemed like it would make my tax filing easier because I planned on cashing out in the relatively near future of those assets. So that's why I put a certain amount in BlockFi. So it's just so funny that that's why I ended up losing those assets, just because I was trying to make my life easier when tax time came. But anyway, so I just want to let you know that, just so you know, I'm not trying to give any of us any false hope. And when I mention that situation of clients' assets being looked at very closely, I'm not saying that any of us should have false hope of getting our money back. I just wanted to look at it and show you what I see happening internally for the company, just because I saw that it just looked very fascinating, and I think it's good to know, because that way those of us who are kind of, do have some, well, no longer, whose money was disappeared in this situation, at least we have a date where we can kind of be on the lookout or check our email and check the news if we're just not connected at that time. But this is absolutely not to give any false hope. I just want to let you know what was going on internally for BlockFi in the next few months up to mid-March, when these changes start really showing themselves. Okay?